What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mountain Motorsports in Roswell. In front of us, we have the baby Duke, KTM Duke 200. As of a couple days ago, I didn't even know this bike was a thing, but turns out it is. So, it is KTM's smallest version of the Duke. We've got the Duke 200. We've got the... They still do a Duke 690? We got a Duke 690. We got a Duke 790. We got a Duke 1290. There's a lot of them. The point is, there's lots of Dukes, and this is the baby one. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, and let's begin. Alright, ladies and gents. Whoa. Oh yeah, boys. It's about to be on. Alright. 32-inch inseam, and I got bent legs, boys. Well, you can't see it. You'll see it in the camera car. Alright, boys and girls. We are here. Ooh, on the Duke 200. Guys, like I said, previous to a couple days ago, I did not know KTM was making a Duke 200. Let's find out what this thing's all about. Boo, boo, boo. Interesting. All right, guys, here on the 2020 Duke 200. Lots of 2.0s in this first ride. So, we're in 6th gear already. Wait. Oh, no. I'm in kilometers an hour, and I suck at math. This is not good, boys. That's gonna suck. Alright, while we're chilling here, let's get our crazy big mirrors figured out. Alright, guys, so the Duke 200, this thing is coming in at $4,000 brand new. So we are looking on the more cost-effective side of motorcycling. Whoa, that rear brake is so low. Oh my gosh, I gotta like pivot my foot to get to it. Some of the things I'm impressed with on this that come offered on this motorcycle is, one, we got a gear indicator, which is awesome. Also, ABS is standard. We've got blinkers that have a click. We've got a lot of stuff in this bike that I would not have expected to have in a $4,000 motorcycle. As far as body position goes, I gotta say, guys, for a small motorcycle, this thing feels like a medium-sized bike. My legs are in a really comfortable position. My back's upright and slightly leaned forward. My arms are super relaxed. I gotta say, you know, I've been doing a lot of videos on the Yamaha MT-03 lately. Is a phenomenal contrast in the body position. I actually really like it. It puts me forward on the motorcycle, but still in a relaxed position. I will say the seat's a little hard, but I think that's pretty normal. KTM tends to have harder seats and kind of gets you in more of an aggressive stance. Standing still here, moving the bike back and forth, it is light. Like, stupidly lightweight. I don't really know what to think about this motorcycle because, you know, they have the Duke 390, which is KTM's smaller CC Duke, so it's interesting that they would have a Duke 200. It's been quite a while since I've ridden the Duke 390, so I probably should have rode one of those recently so I can kind of get a feel for this. But, you know, if you're looking to start motorcycling and you love the Duke line, then this could be the option. Or, you know, if you're looking for a really cost-effective KTM, this one has a really low barrier to entry with that $4,000. The pegs are pretty low to the ground too, and getting my feet poised onto the pegs was effortless. I'm really a big fan of this body position right now. All right, so the weight, I don't know if it's the wheelbase or something, but this is a super lightweight motorcycle, but throwing it back and forth, it doesn't feel quite as like that feather light as it does when I'm on the side of the road not going, which is interesting. Maybe it's got like a longer wheelbase or something like that, but it has a level of stability that I wouldn't have expected with this kind of motorcycle. By the way, guys, we are in that brand new period on this bike, and KTMs have a really weird like break-in period. That's why you see transport lock on here. All KTMs do this transport lock stuff. I guess it's the thing so you can't steal their motorcycle, so you guys just don't worry about that. I don't like that shift RPM light coming on when I'm already in 6th gear going 85 kilometers an hour. Let's go ahead. Oh, the blinkers, dude. I am legit shocked at how good those blinkers are. Again, a lot of what I'm saying is probably going to be based on that. I've been on an MT-03 recently, so, you know, that's my most recent motorcycle that I have experience on. And these bikes are absolutely pretty close, honestly. Like, this bike is $39.99, and I think the MT-03 comes in at maybe in the 4s, high 4s, low 5s, or something like that. Other motorcycles that this thing is gonna compare with, you know, you've got the entry-level market is getting stacked. You got the MT-03, because we're talking entry-level nakeds. You got the Duke 390, which it's competing with. You also have the MT-03, like I've been saying. You've got the Z400. Now, granted, this is probably going to be the cheapest option out there. Like, this guy's coming in close to Grom numbers, guys. Like the Honda Grom, the little mini bike. It's only a 125, and it cost, I think, $3,400 for a brand new Grom, whereas this is $39. I could be off by a couple hundred, but I'm close. So I think the price for this is like the thing that stands out a lot, because typically, at least when I think about KTMs as the more expensive bikes to buy. And from what I've heard, KTMs are more expensive to upkeep, so keep that in mind. But it looks like KTM's like, hey, let's give everybody a really low cost option to get into the brand. I hate that. I hate that whole, you have one blinker indicator and it doesn't tell you if you're blinking left or right. As a serial, don't turn my blinker off guy, can't stand that. Now we're feeling light again. Interesting. So it's once we get some speed behind us, that's when we start getting that really stable feel. Got a cop here to the left, gonna be doing super speed limit. I love the look from the cockpit area, but what I don't love is the tack. The tack is just, I'm really not here for the tack. I'm gonna be nice and let this car in so that the cop doesn't pull me over. We in 5th? Wow, we need to be in a different gear. Let's get over, get out from behind the cop. Oh man, I am really not happy with that engine braking. It is just not where I want it to be. So guys, something we typically get with naked bikes is an engine modified to be more torquey and kind of snappy. And that's something that we just don't really get on smaller bikes, and I'm seeing it here. You know, I'm giving it throttle even when I'm higher in the RPMs. And the bike is a little sluggish to deliver that power. To be honest, I haven't even really hit where I feel like, oh, it's got some power now. I'm also in 6th gear going on city streets. Granted, whatever 90 kilometers an hour is, and I'm in 6th gear doing that. So I think that's probably around 50. I'm really worried about the highway right now. I'm not sure this is going to be a bike that you are going to be able to purchase and then get on the highway in the United States. Granted, guys, you have to keep in mind we are in the U.S., so I'm testing the motorcycle as we are here. All right, 2020 Duke 200 highway test in transport lock mode. Here we go. We don't have a lot of wind protection. We don't have a lot of engine to work with. So let's do the best we can. We are already in 6th gear. Oh my gosh. Maybe it's the transport lock. Maybe. I can't even get up to speed, guys. The shift light's going crazy, and I'm only going 90 kilometers an hour. Let's push it just a little bit. Oh, God. Oh, it's capped out my RPMs at 9,000. So that's got to be a transport lock situation. 120 kilometers an hour, and I am giving it everything. I can't do that. I feel terrible. I think going 100 kilometers an hour is around 60 miles per hour. So we're just gonna have to judge the bike like this, guys. The wind is not bad, but granted, I'm only going 60. You know, I'm not going that fast. I feel comfortable. The bike does feel stable. For whatever reason, this bike feels more stable the faster you go. So I don't know what KTM's doing to make that happen, but it's definitely a thing. Yeah, this is just not a bike. Look at that. The people on the on-ramp are barely going slower than I am. And I don't feel like I can really push this bike more than I currently am. Yeah, this is just not the move, guys. Power-wise, it just doesn't have it. Seat-wise and you know, body position-wise, it's fine. But I could not recommend this as a motorcycle if you're going to get on the highway. That guy's having a much better time here on the highway than I am. Dude, the highway has never felt like such a long stretch. Some bikes, when I do first rides on them, the highway section feels like it lasts for 2 seconds. Right now, this highway section is feeling like it just won't end. It's probably because I feel like crap for like having to wring this bike out, but I am excited to get to our big turn up here to get a feel for what this bike is like leaning and over. I do feel like I'm sitting farther in the motorcycle, and typically that doesn't make the bike feel as good when you lean it over, but we'll have to see up at this big turn. I'm going to come into it with as much power as I can. I have been impressed with the suspension on this bike. Has felt great on the highway. Like, it's soaking everything up. Alright, here we go. We got a decent bike with decent tires. Let's see what it's got. TBH doesn't feel as bad as the MT-03. This bike legitimately feels better leaning it over, which is strange. Look at that, full throttle in a turn, and I don't have to worry about anything. Alright, well, there's that. Engine is just not really there, but handling and body position feel great. This is so strange. All right, we're lowering the RPMs. Let's try to just. That's all the way up through the revs, guys, and there's never does the power like kick on in a certain spot. Not really a fan of that. Even for a 200, I would want it to, I don't know, I'd want it to kick on somewhere, and it just doesn't. Guys, I think I'm in a weird mental spot with this motorcycle. I feel like it should have a punch somewhere, but I need to remember it has only 200 cc's. It is a smaller motorcycle. It does not have a lot of power, and that is even translating to there's no punch anywhere. You know, it's kind of like the Grom. The Grom is just a super slow motorcycle, but I think the Grom's got like 7 horsepower. This has got 26. It's got 19 horsepower more, but to be honest, it does not feel that much faster than a Grom. Sad to say. So let's talk about positive things. Transmission's feeling good. When I'm clicking up through the gears, I get a satisfying click. KTM's in the past have been good about that. They always have. They feel like they have a good clicky transmission. Clutch feels really good. You know, I've got a solid pull on the clutch. The amount of feel that I get in the clutch here, it does feel really good. I've got some good resistance. It's not super light. It's not super heavy. Braking wise, KTM's doing a solid job with the brakes, especially for such an entry-level position. Another really cool thing about this bike is it's got ABS, so if you are a new rider and you somehow lock the brakes up, you've got ABS standard on this motorcycle, which, honestly, guys, I'm shocked. I don't know how KTM's able to afford a $4,000 motorcycle to have ABS standard. If you go up to something like the R3, from Yamaha, to get a 2020 R3 with ABS, that's going to cost you $5,200. So it's going to significantly increase the price that you're looking at to grab that model. Whereas this bike at $4,000 comes with ABS. So it's got a lot of stuff working for it. The engine is just not one of those things. I feel like I could easily do a stoppie on this thing. The stoppie would be the easiest of things to handle. Clicks into neutral really well. At least for that, man. I'm glad that this bike has some stuff that it's really doing well. It makes up for that slower engine. Bike seems pretty easy to get going from a stop. Feels good leaning over. Something that you guys need to keep in mind as you watch this video is these bikes that I ride that are brand new, you do have to keep in mind that the engine is still in a break-in period. The engine will 100% be faster once it's broken in. So keep that in mind when you're seeing how fast I'm going on this bike. You know, if you bought this, for instance, it's not going to be like that the entire time you own the bike. ABS on the rear works great. Just lock the rear all the way up, or attempted to. I am starting to feel some power up at the 7,000, 8,000 RPM range. If you guys notice, it caps out at 13,000, so for the power band to be up that high, you've got to really wring this bike out, and you know, in this transport lock mode, I'm just not going to be able to do that. Similar to other bikes in the class, man, if you want to get everything out of the bikes, that it doesn't have a ton, but if you want to get everything out of it, you got to wring its neck out. So guys, I can tell the power is totally up at 8,000. And if you had this bike broken in, you're definitely going to get more power out of it. I can start to see where the power is now. That's an unfortunate situation. I wish I could ride one of these that maybe has like 5,000 miles on it with no mods. I would really like to do that because I feel like that would be a much better representation of this, because then I could get this thing up at 8,000 and really start wringing it out and feeling where that power is. Because right now I'm relegated to the lower RPMs and the bike just doesn't have a lot down there. I will say the amount of power seems adequate for riding around town. You know, like I'm just riding in traffic on city streets. As long as I'm not wanting to be a freaking hooligan about it and just go as fast as the bike will let me, the bike's fine. You know, I don't feel like any real lack of power. I don't feel like it's dangerous. I feel like it can get up to speed totally adequately for traffic. But, you know, we're talking about like what's safe. An example of a bike not feeling safe really would be like the Grom trying to get on the highway. That's just something you should not do. I've done it, but I don't recommend it. This bike definitely does not feel in that situation. And for only $700-800 more, you can get a bike. You can get into motorcycling. Maybe you're a huge fan of KTM. Like, this is where you could go now. One thing that I think this bike's going to miss out on a little bit is, you know, when we think about, or at least when I think about naked bikes, I think of doing like hooligan stuff and riding with a group of guys or girls, whatever, and having a good time with people and doing like kind of hooligan-y riding. I don't think you're going to really be able to do that with this motorcycle unless you had a group of people with this motorcycle. You know, if you're with a group of guys with higher CC bikes, they're just going to have so much more capabilities engine-wise than that you're just not going to have. And I don't think you're going to be able to keep up with a group like that. Like, look at that. I don't have that punch of power when I really want it. And I think that's really going to hinder you as a rider if you're wanting to do that more faster-paced, not even faster-paced, dude, medium-paced. Because, like, the funny thing about a Grom and the Grom community is the bike is slow, and it's okay because they're all slow. And everybody that rides with Groms, You either have a Grom, a Z125, or one of those Chinese companies that does the Grom-ish bikes. But it's a funny thing, you know, like you all are on these slower bikes and it's funny and it's fun, you're having a good time. But on a bigger bike, you don't have that kind of factor of, oh, it's slow and it's okay, it's fun. You have it has good brakes, it has a good body position, it has great levers and all this kind of stuff. It's slow. So let's turn the bike off and take a look at it. Whoa, kickstand comes out real quick. Here's one of the things that I feel like KTM is doing really well. They are up there with Yamaha at anybody in the motorcycle industry that looks at this bike is going to know from a shadow of a doubt that this is a Duke. You don't need all the badging. You know this is a KTM Duke. You just don't know what engine size it is. That is something I really appreciate that Yamaha and KTM do. With Yamaha, you can tell any bike in their R line, all the way from their R3 to their R1. You can tell any bike in their MT line, all the way from the MT-03 up to the MT-10. Dukes are the same way with KTMs. I love the fact that an entry-level rider who, let's just say they have aspirations of getting a 1290 Super Duke, you know that if you like the way that bike looks and you dream to have that bike one day, you just don't have the experience or the money to buy it, you can buy a lower level Duke and have very similar characteristics. Black trellis frame, the orange wheels, this kind of real angular look, the angular headlight, the angular tail, like all the angles are so similar. I will say visually for me on this bike, I can't do that exhaust, man. That is just, I'm not really here for that exhaust. I don't really like this kind of lower belly fairing. I get what it's doing. I understand it's there to, you know, protect the headers and stuff like that. I just think the bike would look cooler if it had a different exhaust. Dude, I would gladly take the plate off, you know? I'm just not really here for that. That being said, those are the two visual characteristics that I think this bike just doesn't do really well. I think for a $4,000 motorcycle, this thing is sharp. It is about as cool price-wise that I feel like the R3 is. It's a cheaper motorcycle that looks really good. And I think that's something this bike really has going for it. It's obviously got all the KTM stuff. This bike also comes in a white option, so orange and white, very typical for KTM. You know, for a 200cc bike, that's not bad, man. It seems odd how they have the engine so close to the bottom and the only frame pieces are up here. I don't know, something about it looks odd. It looks like the engine's just hanging there instead of intentionally placed there, if that makes sense. Guys, before I get back on it to finish this ride up, I'm gonna snap a photo for Instagram. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, I highly recommend it, at C2WPics. You guys get a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, especially on my stories. There's so much production that goes into the videos on this channel, so we end up sharing a lot of that on our Instagram story. So at C2WPics on Instagram, go over there and give me a follow. Duke 200. Something that's funny about always coming to this parking lot is if you guys look through all the photos on Instagram for all the first rides that I do, I try to always take this photo you're seeing. So it's funny to go back because you guys can tell the leaves are starting to change colors. And so when I do first rides in the wintertime, all the trees are dead. They have no leaves on them. And then when I'm doing them in the summertime, they're totally green. So it's fun to kind of, it's like a timestamp for when I did the first ride. It's kind of neat. All right, guys, let's finish this first ride up and get it going. Something that I haven't touched on yet, guys, is this tack. It looks very reminiscent of the RC390. It looks like a super old Game Boy, and if I'm going to be honest, I think it's trash. I absolutely can't stand it. KTM has made many motorcycles that I'm like, dude, your bike performs so well. Why would you give it a garbage tack like that? You know, we're kind of in a realm right now where bikes got to have decent tacks. Their Duke 390 has an amazing tag. I'm pretty sure it's TFT and everything. So to give this to a Duke 200, I get it. You got to save money somewhere, but that is somewhere I want a better tag. All right, guys, so finishing up the first ride of the 2020 Duke 200, I gotta say the person that I feel like this bike would be great for, there's a couple people. One, if you're entry level into the market, you've never ridden before and you're looking for your first motorcycle, and let's just say, you know, we all start riding and we want an R1 or an MT10 or a CBR 1000. We all aspire to have these bigger motorcycles. But when you're starting out, both financially and experience-wise, you're not ready for that motorcycle. This is a phenomenal option for somebody getting into the market that is looking for a motorcycle that they can have a good time on. They want to have that Duke KTM styling. This is a phenomenal option. If you're looking into this as your first bike and you maybe have some riding experience, personally, I'm going to push you more for the Duke 390 if you can afford it, because obviously you're wanting a KTM and you're entry level, right? If you have any experience at all, I am going to push you to that, because I imagine you're going to get this motorcycle. It does have good levers. It does have good brakes. It has good suspension, but I think you're going to get really tired of that engine really quickly. So also keep that in mind, guys. These are all my opinions, so make sure to go put some seat time in both if you're able to, so that you can get a better idea. Maybe this bike, body position wise, fits you way better, you know, in which case the engine might not be the end all be all for what makes you decide on a motorcycle. The other person that I could really see this being a really good option for is, you know, maybe you're trying to get your girlfriend or your wife into riding. This is a shorter motorcycle, so female riders tend to be a little shorter than us males. Maybe you are an experienced rider. You've got KTMs in your garage. You know, you ride a Super Duke or a Duke 790, and you want your girlfriend or wife to start riding. This would be a really cool option. The clutch feels really good. It has good brakes. In case they over brake, it has ABS. It's lightweight, so there's not a lot of weight to deal with when you're at a standstill. I feel like this could be a really good option for a female entry-level rider that is looking to start riding, and, you know, you don't want a ton of power. You don't want to ride stupid like a lot of us guys do on these naked bikes. You just want a bike to kind of like ride around and enjoy what it is being on two wheels. And that's totally fine. I've told you guys all the time, there's all types of riders, and we don't all have to ride like a bat out of hell. I'm not saying I'm like that. I really enjoy riding like that. But that's not for everybody. Everybody has a different ride. And, you know, for the people that don't really care everything about how fast their bike is, these are solid options. And yeah, guys, that's about all I got for the first ride on the KTM Duke 200. I've been Chaseontwowheels. I appreciate you guys riding around with us today. And before we get out of here, I do got to give a shout out to my guys at Mountain Motorsports. That's the dealership we started at. They have a location here in Roswell, but they have all types of locations all over North Georgia. And if you are looking for your next bike and you're going to purchase it with Mountain, we have a first ride special pricing that'll actually knock some of the price off for you guys on a bike that you're looking to buy. So if you look in the description down below, there's going to be a link to first ride special pricing. Just follow that link and you can save some cash on your next motorcycle. I would not be able to do these first rides if it wasn't for Mountain. So big shout out to those guys. I love them long time. And guys, I'm out of here. If you want to help support the channel, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And if you're getting into the motorcycle industry, check down below. I'll leave a link. My buddies and I do motorcycle builds that we actually give away. We give away motorcycles with our build. So if you want to find out how you could get given those motorcycles, sign up down below. You'll see a wrecked bike rebuild link. Check that out. You guys might enjoy it, and if you don't, it's totally fine. But guys, I've been Chaseontwowheels. I appreciate you riding around with me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Outro crew, do you think the Duke 200 is too small of a motorcycle for the US market? I have had many of you guys tell me all the time, you know, there's tons of markets in the world, but obviously, guys, I'm not going to sit here and talk about motorcycle markets that I've never ridden in. So when we do first rides, all the information you hear me talk about is America-based. But let me know, 200 too small? Especially with the 390. To me, there's just too many Dukes. I think the 390 is about as small as the Duke range needed to be. But that's just one man's opinion. You guys know I love you long time for getting to the end of the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.